We've got some major updates because we've just seen Kaspa break out of what we've seen over a several week kind of downtrend. We've just broken through it. It's pretty much confirmed at this point because we have seen one full candle close above it. So we're going to be talking about that, but we're also seeing something very, very interesting happening. We are finally back in alt season. So we're going to be discussing that too, as well as the implications of what this could mean for Kaspa, as well as just other altcoins generally. So let's go on ahead. We'll dive in. We're going to start taking a look at the Kaspa chart first, because we can see really nice look here for the Kaspa chart. We've broken out of this multi-week downtrend. We've basically started it towards the end of July. We're in it basically all of August and then through almost half of September at this point. Man, the year is going by super fast, but we could see a really nice break above this with momentum. We're seeing a little bit of a red candle right now. I think the market's kind of at a little bit of an indecision point right now. The market generally has been very skittish in terms of like what's actually going to happen next. And so I think that's kind of a little bit of what we're seeing today. But you can see in terms of Bollinger Bands, not really pushing the top yet. RSI, not really even pushing close to the top. We're actually closer to the middle than anything else. And so Kaspa does remain in a pretty decent position to hopefully continue a move back to the upside. Now, if we zoom out, you can see we've got this green line. This is the line that we broke above, but we have these two blue lines as well. So I want to kind of zoom out, kind of change the perspective a little bit of kind of what we're looking at from a more macro sense. So you can see here, we've been in kind of this very long-term consolidationary type of structure, and we could see that we kind of entered into this initially back towards the end of 2024, really kind of bouncing up against the top of it back in January of 2025, and since then we've been in this really long drawn-out consolidationary wedge period. And you can see this lower highs, higher lows all the time, basically come from like a macro sense, holding very consistent here. So, and you actually can even see this was even just within the past couple of days. This was September 6th. So just under a week ago, we actually hit the bottom of this trend line that we'd kind of been following. If we could kind of, we could maybe even draw it like this and maybe say we didn't even quite hit the bottom of the trend line here. We just got towards the bottom. We'll have to see. This is kind of fitting the line kind of retroactively to what we've seen out of this move here. Again, we do have that wick that kind of broke below here. So, we're going to be ultimately, kind of long story short, we're ultimately in kind of this general consolidationary period. It's very clear to see. However you want to draw the lines yourself, you can feel free. But the story remains the same. So we are consolidating. Whenever we do break out of this, we should see a very nice move back to the upside. You can see here this wedge kind of starts to come to a point towards the end of the year this year. So what we could potentially see, if we don't see a breakout before then, we could see Kaspa basically consolidating for like over a year at this point, depending on kind of what we see happen next. So this is of course going to be very interesting to see, as well as generally the longer you see this type of consolidationary period, the stronger the breakout is. So we'll have to see kind of what happens here, but overall Kaspa looking really nice. Right now, I haven't opened a Kaspa position just because we haven't really seen a ton of like momentum here. We also are seeing we're running into some pretty difficult levels of resistance that we have seen before. For me, this 9-cent range is kind of a make or break. Kaspa's really struggled, particularly as of late, around this 9-cent range. So if we can't get up and break through it, I think, I don't think that it's super likely, or even like I don't think that it's a highly likely event that we break through that 9-cent range. So I am just kind of waiting and seeing. This is a good kind of move off of the structure right here, but we also have a lot of other trades open that I'm frankly a little bit more convicted in. So I'm just still kind of waiting and seeing on Kaspa in terms of like a short-term trade type of perspective. Of course, I do still have that Kaspa bag, but this is not something that I'm looking to trade here on the short term. Now, moving along, we could see a really important thing happening right now. So this is kind of obviously very zoomed out. I wanted to show you just kind of what we're seeing from a long-term perspective. You can see we are hitting up against this bottom line right here, which is the 2021 high for the altcoin market. You can see this is the total 3 market cap. So this is the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin and ETH. So we can see two things. We are essentially running up right now. If we go into a bit more of a short-term view, we are running up. We actually wicked down almost exactly off of that 2021 high. You can see though back here in December of 2024, we did see some wicks up above this 2021 high, getting us a new technical all-time high at about 1.16 trillion. Keep in mind though, we actually, I don't think have ever seen a close above, to be clear, above the previous all-time high. Maybe we technically got one here. I would have to check because this line is not going to be exact for sure. So maybe we have gotten a close this cycle above the 2021 highs, but at least from what it's looking like, possibly not. We are very much just looking at kind of wicks above into that all-time high zone. So this is a very, very interesting move, and we're going to be wanting to be watching very closely to see what happens next. Obviously, we have already kind of gotten rejected a little bit. Ideally, what we need to see, and I think this is when we really start to see alt season kick off, is we break through this with gusto. So we'll have to see. Definitely not the case, at least as of right now. But I think if we do see that break, that's when we will be off to the races. However, you can see it's officially altcoin season. 0 days since the last altcoin season. We've been waiting almost a year for this to come back around. We are officially here, but as I have been talking about for several weeks at this point, the build up into this alt season has been much softer, much more kind of long drawn out, and it hopefully is meaning that it will be a lot more sustainable than what we kind of saw here, where we basically teleported from like almost Bitcoin season all the way up to altcoin season and all the way back within the span of like 3 weeks. That was obviously a very unsustainable move. This is a move that's been happening since probably like the beginning of July. So it's almost a 3-month move kind of in progress right now. So this to me is a much more sustainable move than what we've seen kind of back earlier in this cycle. So this to me is something that I'm still very much looking very closely at, and I want to see exactly how we're doing here. Also, I'm going to be watching very closely to see when these top indicators start to hit. I didn't want to show that today just because I am trying to keep the video a little bit shorter, but I did want to see, well, I'll show basically when there's something to show, but there are 30 indicators that are like historically been top indicators. 0 of those 30 have been hit. And so that's something that I'll be keeping an eye on, but we haven't seen any of them hit yet, which does give me some hope that this alt season may still have some legs to continue, even though we have officially kind of hit into the altcoin season area. Now, again, keep in mind, this is something that I want to be very, very clear about. Now that we are in alt season, this is probably not the best time to be buying alts, right? I mean, ideally, again, not financial advice, you hopefully have been making your own decisions and things like that. Ideally, you should have been accumulating kind of up until this point, but we are just very, very only barely creeping into altcoin season. So what this means to me is while this may not be the best time to buy from a pure price perspective, this quite probably is the absolute best time to buy from a kind of time value of money. How long is it going to take from when you buy to when you could be making a ton of money? Right now is probably the best time to be buying. Again, this is purely my opinion. I am more than entitled to be wrong just because I can't see the future. So maybe I am wrong, but at least from what it's seeming to me, we are seeing a very, very strong build up to an alt season. We are officially kind of in the first stretches of a possible altcoin season. And this is why it's so important to make sure that you're positioned correctly. As for me, I have been buying like crazy all through the kind of this boring period over the past several months, but I have actually also started to open some trades, several trades over the past couple of days because of what we have been seeing. And so one of the first ones that we have open right now, you can see I actually opened this on the channel, I think about 2 days ago. We could see up about 76%. I've already secured profit here, moved my stop loss to just above my entry price. We're basically free riding at this point. You guys know I'm super bullish on Aerodrome. This is one that I'm probably going to let ride basically as long as I want to. I have a couple of profits here up at 143 and 158. 158 is one that I'm probably going to be removing as we get closer, depending on kind of what happens here. Because if you have seen in the past, we've gone way above 158. We've gone back up into like the $2 and $3 ranges. So I don't want to be selling too early here. because I have already secured profit. So the way that I'm looking at this is just pure profit that I'm playing with. There's no possible way that I can lose money on this trade. It's just how much I can make. And that is, of course, purely up to you. That is a personal decision. A couple other trades that we have been making. We had that Tau trade I opened a couple days ago. I can discuss this one as well. This one also up a decent bit, up about 100%, also profit secured here. Stop loss moved up to break even. We're free riding on this one as well. I have another decent profit taking position here coming at the $4.61 range. Again, hopefully we get there. If we don't, not the end of the world. We're kind of free riding in profit right now. And then we'll probably leave a few Tau around just as kind of like a moon bagger if we make it to some of the previous highs in that $700 to $800 range. So these will be multi-hundreds, even thousands of percents trades if they get to where they could. But again, this is a long-term thing. I've already secured profit. I've taken all my risk off the table. And for me, that is the prudent thing to be doing, particularly when you are leverage trading crypto. Take the profits when you see it and then just manage your risk accordingly. So again, if you are interested, you want to do any of this type of trading, you can feel free to use the links in the description below. I do have links to Weex, BloFin, as well as BTCC. BTCC does currently have the best sign up bonus, but it's completely up to you in terms of whichever ones you want. All of my affiliate links below do have exclusive sign up bonuses of some sort. So if you are interested, all of them are, and all the details for them are in the description below as well. Now, moving along, I want to talk and zoom back in specifically on Kaspa, because as I mentioned, I have other trades open because I have more conviction in things like my Tau or my Arrow trade rather than Kaspa, but that's not to say that I don't have conviction in Kaspa. I still have conviction in Kaspa. We're just waiting for that right time, right? Timing is everything, especially when you are trading with leverage. So, but we could see here on this tweet, we have the first ever Kaspa conference loading up here. It's going to be in Berlin. I think this is really, really interesting and amazing news. This is kind of the start, right? I mean, think about ETH Denver. ETH Denver happened, 10 years ago. That was kind of the first Ethereum conference, and it happened a long time ago. Not many people booked. But as it grew and as it developed over time, it continued to become bigger and bigger. This to me gives exactly kind of like initial ETH Denver vibes. So I'm super, super excited to see what happens out of the Kaspa conference. This happens tomorrow, at least as of the time of this recording, and it'll still be tomorrow, I guess, based on where you are in the world, based on when this video is posted. So very much interested in kind of seeing what comes out of the Kaspa conference. I'm hoping it is, they've got a couple of big announcements and things like that. But again, time will tell. Also, as we are getting into altcoin season, there are a couple kind of high conviction bags that I have. One that I want to discuss today, I've talked about this several times on the channel at this point, is Simple AI. I think Simple AI is a fantastic project. I personally do own Simple AI as a full disclaimer. So in case that you're wondering if I have some sort of vested interest in it, of course I do. That is why I'm letting you know. But Simple AI is one that I have an insane amount of confidence in. The chart started off really, really strong, has moved very well. It's kind of had to retrace a little bit. For those of you who are used to or are familiar with these types of micro cap stocks, this isn't, or not stocks, but cryptos. This is an AI crypto. It's an AI project. It's done really well. We're seeing kind of top to bottom. It's probably gone down about 60-ish%. Completely reasonable, completely doable in a time like this, just because these projects are super volatile. But if you look at the Simple team and what they're doing, they ship like crazy. It's absolutely insane. Kind of the overall kind of TLDR of what they do is they're working to do robotics, they're working to do Web3, they're looking to make web or workflows easier for Web3 developers, safer for users, and faster for teams. They've got a really, really interesting and strong project, in my opinion. I think they've been shipping like crazy. So here you can see they've got their phase 4 beta testing and optimization. This is just something that you can see here. You've got a contributor, and you can essentially reach out to the robotics testing for what they're doing here. They also have essentially a vault. A simple vault is essentially what they're doing here, where you can go and you can make it easier to kind of launch a startup in the Web3 ecosystem. So again, in just you can see over the past 2 or 3 days, a whole bunch of different updates about interesting things that they're building and interesting things that they are shipping. Now, of course, with micro caps. They're very, very, very inherently risky just because they're so volatile. So it's in my opinion that if you do decide that you are interested in getting in, just make sure that you're sized accordingly. You do not need to drop $100,000 into a play like this for it to work out very well for you. That's kind of how it goes with a lot of these smaller projects. You drop in $100, you drop in even $1,000. If it hits some of the levels that we've seen from others, we've talked specifically before about like 0x0, TARS, vertical AI, a lot of these that are kind of similar peers or competitors, we're looking at multi-100x gains if we see something like that coming out of Simple. So you don't need a whole bunch of money to make a whole bunch of money off something like that. But also with that is the corresponding amount of risk. So just make sure that you understand it, make sure that you are kind of acting responsibly and all those types of things. But overall, those are the updates that I have today. Super bullish on Kaspa. I think we're seeing a really, really nice beginning of the move for Kaspa, though we aren't technically out of like the technical superstructure that we have been seeing. So there will be plenty of places to bounce around. Also Simple, another one that I'm super, super bullish on, and I have very high hopes for as we really just start into alt season. This is the first day we've technically been in alt season. So I'm very interested to see kind of what happens there. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. What are your thoughts on Kaspa? What are your thoughts on Simple? How do you think that they're going to play out in this next kind of alt season that we potentially are running into right now? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts. Also, let me know if you have any comments about anything else as well. If there's anything else you want me to cover, all that type of good stuff. And then in addition, of course, if you did find the information in this video useful, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. All that stuff does really, really help me out. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.